When I was just 8 years old, there was a horrible tragedy, a horrible accident that changed my life forever. I've never felt like it was my story to tell, and some parts of it aren't. But my part of the story, I do want to tell. There was a pastor and his wife that my dad was best friends with. And my dad used to be a traveling evangelist with a group that consisted of my cousin, my uncle, and a friend of theirs who played the piano and kind of handled the music part. My dad was the tenor, and he has an excellent voice. I love to hear him sing. I miss hearing him sing. He's still with us, but I just miss because he doesn't sing like he used to. We were at home, my mom and I. My dad was at work. I don't remember very much about it. I know that I heard something bad had happened. I think mom took me to my grandparents and went to my dad. And when they told my dad, he said he fell backwards and sat down and said, I loved him more than a brother. Now you have to know that where he was in working construction with his brothers. His brothers heard him say that. But he wasn't thinking about it. He just really loved him. And over time, we had, house sit for them before. We used to come up and dad would hold services for him, or the Harvest Time Singers was the group that my dad was with. They had cut 2 records. They had sang all different kinds of places. So mom and dad came up to be here. I stayed with my grandfather and my grandmother. I remember seeing it on the news when mom and dad were gone. It was that big of a situation. And I remember just being glued to the television, wondering about, my friends because, they had 2 kids and then, they were gone. And I wondered about, their kids that were my friends. And I was just so entwined in it, and I was crying. And my grandpa said, come here, baby. Miss that man. When he held me, he let me mourn and cry. Anyway, my dad would come and fill in. It was about 2.5 hours from where we were living, and he would come up and fill in. I really didn't come up a whole lot during then. I don't know. I had school and stuff, and he would help the church, and he would fill in with stuff. And then eventually the church asked him to just go ahead and take the church. I lived in the country. We had a collie, a pony. We had rabbits. We had acreage. I had friends that had horses that would bring their horses and let me ride them. We had a big, huge old wood barn that I loved to go into. We had woods that had a path that I'd love to walk around, and there was like places where people had dumped stuff, and I remember finding different things like this shell that was sat on cement concrete, and I just thought it was the coolest thing that it was just right there. And I just remember having this huge yard. I mean, we had 3 ponds, turtles, big turtles, fish, tadpoles, snakes from time to time, but those were taken care of. Excuse me, dad would take care of that. We had a really nice house that my dad, it had been a trailer, and my dad and my uncle built it into a home, very nice home. And in the living room, dad had made or I think my uncle actually built it, but my dad had him do it for an anniversary gift for my mom. It was gorgeous. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous fireplace. Big mantle. So we had to leave that all behind and come to a city. Concrete. All we seen. we would call it the concrete place. It was just concrete city. It was just everywhere. And when you've been living in the country, I had to leave all my friends. I don't even talk about leaving my grandpa and grandma because that was devastation to me. There was 9 siblings in my dad's family, 6 in my mom's. I don't even know how many cousins I had at that point in time, but I had a ton of them. They were my friends. I would go to grandma and grandpa's and play with them. I would go to my aunt's house, who was my second mama, and play with my cousin. And it just ripped my heart out. I was 9, I think, by the time we moved up here. The accident happened in about a month before I turned 9. So, like I said, I never felt like it was my side of the story to share. Lots of things happened. Um, one story that I can tell from that situation, because things were different. We went to Columbus with the family one time. My 2 friends were there. They had a son and a daughter, the pastor and his wife did, and they were the most beautiful, sweetest people. They had the most gorgeous smiles, both of them. And honestly, the one was a football player and he was the cutest guy in school. And most people would be like, oh my gosh, I seen my family there. I seen a cousin, a brother, whatever. But to this day, I love them very much. Haven't seen them in a long time, but I still love them very much. I know what love my dad and their dad had for each other. And they had the most best dad and mom, if most best is a word, if that's actually the way you say it. But it was just really nice to have them, because I didn't have very many people when we moved up here. I mean, not that I got to really spend a whole lot of time with them, but I knew them. I was a very shy person. I regret when we would come up that I didn't put myself out there more and really get to know them, spend more time with them. I mean, I knew them, but I didn't, like they asked me to play, I'd be like kind of held back because I was a single, child, and I just didn't interact with people other than my family. So it was just kind of awkward, but I came to love them very, very much. But we went to, let me back up. When I was in 4th grade, when we moved up here, I started the 4th grade. During the 4th grade, we were taking swimming lessons. There was an auditorium down the hill from our school. Give me 1 second here.